short and tight. Hi, Sharon from Sydney. We are doing around 20 to 30 minutes on these sessions, so it's just something really punchy, get you going in the day and get you out of here so that you can get back into whatever else you need to do today. Today's session is about overwhelm to calm. I'm coming, as I mentioned, from the sunny Central Coast, just north of Sydney. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land from which I come from today, which is the Darkinjung people. And I would like to acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. Peter coming from Perth, that's an early start for you, Peter. Thank you for joining us. And everyone's in lockdown. Okay, let's get into this. I'm Julie Jones. I work as a productivity ninja here at Think Productive. I would love to keep in touch with you guys. Goodness me, it's telling me I'm muted. I hope I'm not muted. You guys have seen me speaking. Please let me know that you can hear me. That would be really, really positive. I didn't think I was muted. No, I'm not. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. Yes. So at Think Productive, we love to help people to be more productive, but to really balance well-being with that. Yeah, so important for us to make sure that we are physically and mentally taking very good care of ourselves in order to be productive, and also to make sure that we're getting the very best out of life. At Think Productive, we are here for you. If you guys are stressed, if you are overwhelmed, if you need help with your productivity or well-being for yourself or for your team, please get in touch. I will remind you of all these details at the end, but just take a quick photo if you'd like to capture some of those details. The photo of me is relevant. That's me doing what I also love to do, which helps me to stay in the zone of productivity, which is underwater photography and scuba diving. So important. I'm going to talk about this right at the end of the 20 minutes. It's really important to do the things we love in order to be productive. Mary, thank you so much. Coming from SPC in from the Kulin Nation. Thank you so much. Yes, in sunny Melbourne. Awesome. Okay, we do love to have a blended learning approach. So today, even though we can't have a lot of interaction, we've got too many people on the line to do a bit of a chat. I do want you to have some interactivity here. It helps us to embed the learning. The content that we share with you is based on the original book by Graham Olcott. You can get a copy of that from the Ninja Academy. And we are going to sign everyone up for the Academy after the session. We have your email addresses because you've registered with us. So thank you. You don't need to do anything. We will give you access to the Academy so that you can download the book. And today I'm going to give you just a couple of really simple techniques that you can use to move from overwhelm to calm. So let's just get straight into the learning. I'm going to talk about stress and taming our lizard brains. This is a really important part of understanding how to manage overwhelm and how to get to a place that's a little bit calmer, is by understanding that physiological response to stress. I'm going to teach you one very simple little breathing technique. And again, the physiology, why we do this. And it's not about being in a meditative state or going into some sort of weird and wacky land. This is about a very simple physiological breathing that can control stress and help you to get your focus back. We're going to then do a little technique around clearing our minds and have a little bit of fun. So I will get straight into it. So I'd love to just really pause for a second and talk to you guys about stress. Now, for those of you who know me, stress has been my constant companion for many years. I was in a very big corporate role for a long time, about 30 years. I was in corporate roles, in marketing and strategy roles, very stressed, got sick twice, really went on a bit of a journey of discovery to understand stress and understand what it was doing to my body, my physiological self. And there's some really interesting science around this stuff. So when we're juggling so much of life, and right now being in COVID land, again, all of us, pretty much everyone's in lockdown. It's a really, really stressful space. And this physiological response that we have to stress, it's so important to understand how each of us uniquely feels stress. So in the chat box, please let me know, how do you feel stress? Where do you feel it in your body? Do you know, can you recognize stress when it's actually happening to you? And I'm talking about, the stress where we feel like we are getting very anxious, we have maybe a physiological response of we've got tight shoulders, we've got shallow breathing, we are getting headaches regularly, we are feeling stress. Sharon, thank you. Breath and emotional. Yeah. Clenched jaw, headaches. Michelle, yeah, absolutely. All of these things, stomach and neck, shoulders, yes, definitely headaches. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yes. And you've got on your smartwatch, Peter, that's fantastic, monitoring your stress levels. Yeah, because it can indicate our heart rate is going up, tight chest. Yes, Neil. There are so many physiological responses, and it's so important that you understand when you are in that stress response. Now, stress is important for us as individuals, as a human being. The stress response comes right back from something like 400 million years ago, when our brains were just starting to evolve. And it's about helping us to stay safe. The fight-flight response is really important for our bodies and for us to stay safe, yeah? But that little reptilian brain, the lizard brain at the back, the amygdala, right at the base of our brain, is the bit that can take over. So what happens when we go into a stress response is that our amygdala triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol. And those chemicals, hormones, are there to actually mobilize our big muscle groups and get us moving, and to also keep us safe. Yeah. Now, in the modern day world, obviously fight, flight doesn't really happen that much to us, but we tend to freeze. We sit within this space of stress and we hold these chemicals in our body. If we don't get rid of those chemicals, if we don't actively move and get rid of the cortisol and the adrenaline moving around our system, it can become very damaging to our health. Okay, so it's really important we understand this. It also knocks out our productivity, because what happens when we get this response is it's telling us run away or stand and fight, and it's actually not doing the things like thinking clearly. It switches off our prefrontal cortex. So it's very important to figure out how to turn that back on and how to calm the lizard brain. So I'm going to give you a couple of techniques to work with to get this little reptilian brain, the lizard brain, under control. So for you, it's really important for you to think about, when am I in stress? When do I have this stress response happening? Recognize it, acknowledge it, and then find ways to get past it and to reactivate our thinking brain so that we can think well and we can be creative and we can get stuff done, and we can manage that stress and bring down the overwhelm. So really think about your response to stress and then how you're going to manage it. The first technique I wanted to share with you is just to breathe. Now, this is a very important, again, as I mentioned, a physiological response, and it can be very simple to activate. Now, when we get into a stress response, we tend to shallow breathe. We're breathing in the very top part of our lungs, which is actually activated by our sympathetic nervous system. So we automatically breathe, yeah? We don't usually have to think about it too much. As a scuba diver, I think about it a lot. But under normal conditions, when we're in the office, we just breathe. Yeah, our brain, our sympathetic nervous system just manages that for us. But what happens when we're in a stress response is we are breathing usually from the top part of our lungs. We are shallow breathing or we're rapid breathing, and we are not activating what we call our parasympathetic nervous system. Now, when we do take very big, deep breaths, and I'm going to give you a beautiful shot, we're going to practice this together. When we get to this place, we can really start to control our breathing. If we notice that we're going into a stress response, we're feeling overwhelmed, we're feeling anxious, we can do this deep breathing. And this is about what we call diaphragmatic breathing. What happens when we do some really big, deep breaths, pushing our diaphragm down and breathing out. The first one is out first. So breathing out as far as we can. We activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And this action actually stops the amygdala in its tracks. And we call this the amygdala hijack when we're in a stress response. So it calms the amygdala, this lizard brain, and it reactivates our prefrontal cortex. So if you find yourself in this place of overwhelm, this place of stress, first thing to do is take 3 big, deep breaths. And the first one is an out breath. So I'm going to do that with you guys now. So just take a moment to center yourself and do 1 big deep breath out. And I mean really far out so that there's nothing left in your lungs and that you are pushing out your belly. Your belly should feel rounded and big, okay? We're pushing our diaphragm right down. And then a big deep breath in. And if you can, we want to make our out breath longer than our in breath. And when we've fully breathed out, we want to hold it just for a few seconds. So we're going to do another big deep breath out. We're going to hold it for a few seconds. And then a big breath in. So keep doing this. Keep breathing. Big breaths out. Pushing that diaphragm out. Holding it just for a couple of seconds. And then the big breaths in. Now you can do this anywhere. You can do it on Zoom if you're in meetings, if you're working remotely from home, as most of us are. You can do this anywhere. You can do it on Zoom. You can do it physically in the physical space. If you are in a meeting, when you get back to the office, if you're in a hybrid environment or wherever you are, nobody knows that you're doing this. Yeah. But what it does is it stops that feeling of stress and overwhelm. We can sit more carefully, more comfortably with our racing thoughts, and we can start to do something with them. Okay. So just think about that, really exercise. And the little phrase I'm going to give you, if in doubt, breathe out. If in doubt, breathe out. Okay, just remember that. If in doubt, if you think you might be in a stress response, if you're getting overwhelmed, if you're not being able to make clear decisions, take some big deep breaths and activate your prefrontal cortex again. Get that thinking brain working and subdue that little lizard brain, get him under control. Okay, that's our first technique today. The second technique, and I'm going to get you guys again, if you don't have pen and paper, please grab some now. Okay, I will leave a couple of minutes for you to grab that while I'm talking about this activity. And this is one we do in all of our programs. Now we teach this process, how to empty your brain so that you can think clearly. Okay, now our first little ninja, I always laugh at this one because our first little ninja that we teach is Zen Like Calm. And we know that when we get to this place of overwhelm, it is really unlikely that we feel anything but calm. And we feel overwhelmed, we feel stressed, we feel all of those emotions we've just been talking about. And we think that, we can't possibly do anything with that. Usually what's happening when we get to this place is that we are holding lots and lots of stuff in our heads, okay? So our little technique that we teach is what we call a brain dump. Now, like this guy, in your head, you probably have lots of stuff going around, okay? Big stuff, little stuff, urgent stuff, not so urgent stuff, important stuff, not so important. Things like, this guy's got solve global warming. He's got new marketing strategies to write. He's got things like booking meeting rooms or calling mum on Sunday. Yeah, lots of diverse stuff. And it's not all work stuff either. What really surprises a lot of people is the amount of personal stuff they have that they're holding in their head. So I'm going to give you guys some time now to do a start of a brain dump. Okay, I would really encourage you guys, if you have sticky notes, if you have pieces of paper, if you do have just a sheet of paper, tear it up into small pieces. Make it into little pieces that you can write one thing on, just like this guy. Have one thing on each piece of paper. Once we've got all of this out, I'm going to share with you just a very tiny process of how you can start to work with this stuff. But what this does for us is it allows us to declutter our heads. We get everything out and then we can start to work with it. So I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes to do a brain dump to start, okay? So please just pause for a second, take some breaths, and then do your brain dump. And just keep writing for as long as you can. Just keep writing it all down. Okay, 3 minutes, go. Okay, that is 3 minutes. Goes quickly, doesn't it? I'd love to know in the chat box how that process worked for you. You might still be going, so feel free to keep writing. Feel free to just keep doing that brain dump, get everything out. It's a really great process to start getting on top of this overwhelm, to start decluttering our heads. Some people, as I mentioned, are surprised to see how much personal stuff is in there, because often we plan our workday. We don't often plan the personal stuff. We don't often get all of that out. And I would really encourage you guys to do everything, okay? We talk a lot about putting things in to a second brain. That's a very important ninja skill, which is kind of the next step on from doing a brain dump. Thank you, Jeannie. Yes, slow to start, but then more and more showed up. Isn't it interesting how things just pop up? Yes. And Jane got about 30 things written down, half for personal, stuff for the kids. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? How much stuff we hold in here. Now, I would really, really encourage you guys to just keep working with that flow process this morning, just to get everything out. It's really important to declutter so that we can do our best thinking, so that we can be creative, so that we can really do great stuff. Yeah, so Heather could easily keep going. Don't plan the day, but you can't. Okay, that's a really tricky one. Maybe we've got some strategies that we could chat about, Jen. If you want to get in touch with me, we can talk about some more strategies. Yeah. Michelle, yeah, great. Good free-flowing ideas. Yeah, so you'll find sometimes that ideas will come out of this process, not just stuff that you have to do. So it's a really great way of capturing those as well. I would really encourage you guys to do this as part of your weekly review. If you do a weekly review on a Friday, which is a very important ninja process that we do, this can be the first part of your dump down of everything that's been happening during the week. You can capture things that need to be done, actions from the week that's been, but making sure that you have all of that out of your head is a really great place to be. It helps us to start thinking well, as I mentioned. It starts to control the lizard brain, and it allows us to start processing all of that stuff that we've got out in front of us. So the next step from here for you guys, it's a big process, so I can't teach you the whole thing today in 20 minutes, but start working with the stuff that you've written down. Are they already on your lists? Are they on your action lists? Are they stored somewhere in your second brain? Are they in your calendar, your diary, wherever it is that you've stored things? Or are there new things that have popped out of your head and you need to now prioritize those or put them somewhere? Once we have all of that stuff out of our head and we have a really clear view of what's happening, we can start to sort, we can start to organize and prioritize the things that we need to focus on first. And we can also figure out, sometimes we hold on to stuff that's not even ours. And I found this when I first started doing this process, was I would put stuff down on paper and go, why am I even thinking of that? That's not mine, that's someone else's. And you can physically screw it up and put it in the bin and you'll feel better. Okay, you've got rid of that clutter. Ellen, I'm just going to go back to some of the notes because there's some cool stuff here. That is, Mary is saying, I use MS Notes for work stuff, going to start using it for personal stuff too. Absolutely. It's wonderful, Mary. If you have one central second brain where you store everything, it's wonderful. Eleanor noted 20 things are mostly related to work stuff. Cool. And Peter found this a good way to putting things into context. Absolutely. It does start to give us perspective, which we often lose when we're in overwhelm. Awesome. Thank you so much for the feedback. Okay, we are right near the end. I'm going to just mention, though, the capture and collect process. So once you've got everything out, as I mentioned, one idea per piece of paper is really important because then you can start to physically separate and support them and group them. Okay. But at this capture and collect stage, when we do our brain dump, we call this is part of our CORD model, which you can also find in the book. The CORD model is capture and collect, organize, review, and then do. Okay, so the first stage is what we've talked about today. To reduce the overwhelm is just to do the capture and collect. Okay, so yeah, this is a great process. I would love you to do that moving forward. Okay, the other important thing to do to overcome overwhelm and stress is to have some fun. Okay, I would really, really encourage you guys to do what you love. Okay, again, the reason for me being there, that's me with my camera on the left-hand side, is this is the place I go to de-stress, to get rid of the clutter in my head. When I'm underwater, when I have my camera in my hands, I'm thinking of nothing but the shot, of being right there in the zone. I guess it's quite meditative. It's like yoga. It's like meditation. Those kind of places we get to. And there's some really great research out there on flow theory, which is when we get really into that perfect zone of attention, when we love what we're doing. We feel totally involved and immersed in the moment. Doing what you love is so important for your productivity. We think often that, oh, I can't possibly do that stuff because I've got so much to do. But spending a little bit of time doing the things we love, even if it's like cooking, walking, riding a bike, dancing, whatever it is, it's so important for our well-being, our personal well-being. And often we don't plan for this. My most sad statistic is that I can present to a room of 100 people and I'll ask them what came out of their brain dump or what they have on their plan for the week of the things they love. And probably 2 or 3 out of 100 will actually have planned for something they love. So I would really encourage you guys, get it on your list. For me, I do a weekly plan, and one of the sections of my big rocks is always my diving and photography. Yeah, always have something on your plan of the things that you love, because it helps us to overcome stress and overwhelm, and it helps us to feel more productive and positive when we get into the office space. So really encourage you to do what you love. Okay, we have covered knowing your stress. So remember, know what it feels like in your body. Make sure you're doing something to tame that lizard brain. Your breathing, your brain dumping helps to clear the mind, to reactivate our prefrontal cortex. Oh, Lisa, wonderful. Still loving your weekly planner from Kiki K. Yes, they're very cool. And plan to have fun on your weekly review. I would love to hear how many of you have got something positive out of this and what's in your weekly review for you to do next week, so that you can actually take some steps forward to having fun. Even in lockdown, guys, we can find ways to do things we love. Even for me, if I can't get underwater, I'll spend time with my photography, editing, or just taking my camera out in the garden and having a play. Yeah, think about what you can do to really enhance your sense of well-being this weekend. Ready for a great week next week. Okay, if you would like more, please get in touch. We have some wonderful workshops out there to help specifically with things like working from home. If you're managing teams, we absolutely have resources available to help you. We have new programs like Leading Remote Teams. We also have the Productivity Ninja's Guide to Working from Home with great tips. Oh, wonderful, Lisa, you've got 2 hours blocked out. Fantastic, that's great. Awesome. Well done, guys. I also wanted to just mention the next one of these sessions will be on the 15th of July, and we'll be talking about the daily boot up process, which is more of the Zen Like Calm Ninja. It's more of getting you into that zone of being prepared and organized for the day. So come join us. We'd love you to see you there. Also think about joining the podcast. If you like podcasts, Graham does Beyond Busy podcast, and it's a really great session. I would love your feedback from today. So if you've got your camera handy on your phone, you can scan the QR code and give us some feedback. The Overwhelm to Calm workshop is the last one on the list. It's easy for you to find. And obviously my name is Julie, so please find me there. Just have a quick couple of minutes in there, if you wouldn't mind giving us feedback and letting us know what's good, what you need more of, and then we can build our sessions around that. Awesome. This is me. Please keep in touch. Take a photo, as I mentioned, of the contact details. We would love to chat to you if there's anything that you need help on. Take care. I'm going to stay on the line now. We have finished just a few minutes early, so have a wonderful rest of your Friday. If you would like to chat with me, please put a note in the question box, the Q&A, or just in the chat box, and I will stay on the line for any questions. Otherwise, stay well, stay calm, and enjoy your Friday. Take care.